Welcome to the Tick Tock Podcast. The clock is always ticking, so let's synchronize our watches and dive in. I'm your host, Callie Brigham, and I'm here to help you make time for what matters. Hey friend, I was recently at an all-day virtual workshop for podcasters, and we were all in little small groups, spending time with a strategist and also supporting each other through working through things like what is our mission? Who is our person? What topics resonate? What is the conversation sound like? What is the purpose really of what we're wanting to put into the world, right? So I was explaining a little bit about what we do here on our podcast. And one of the women, as I described what my intention is and the things that I support women through in different areas of their life, especially their time. And she said, Oh, I got it. You're helping women recover from perfectionism. You're helping them become recovered perfectionists. And I just kind of stopped and I said, No, no, not really. And she sort of laughed too. She said, No. I said, No, actually, I'm helping them perfect the areas of their life. I said, I don't want them to recover from it. I want them to master it. Now, let me be clear. There is a big difference in the emphasis of perfect and perfect, right? So they look the same on paper. They spell the same, but they are not the same. It is not about being perfect, but we can sort of get as close as we can, right? By perfecting one thing at a time. So I loved that conversation with her. I thought that, the lens in which she was looking at it, of course, is accurate. We do not strive for being perfect here, but we do want to get pretty darn close. So because of that, I feel like I am always learning and growing too. And I am a case study for the things that we do here on the podcast. And if I ever get to the point where I feel like every area I've perfected it, then I don't know. Like, what are we going to do then? We won't have as much content. So don't worry. I still have a lot of areas for me personally to work on. So, what we're going to talk about today actually stems from my desire to support somebody else to grow and perfect areas of their life. And in turn, it basically trickled down into myself too. So recently, I made this huge discovery that so many of the things that I traditionally did and even trained and taught people to do on Sunday nights, I've actually moved them off of my Sunday schedule and I've moved them to a different day. And that's what we're going to talk about. And what happened was I was working with one of my clients, doing the thing that I love, and we were focusing on her schedule and we were nailing it down. We were perfecting it. We were identifying for her good energy times when she was in a good emotional place, and also her situation with when she had her kids in school, when she didn't, the kind of things that she wanted to incorporate her family into, the kind of things that she wanted to do when her family wasn't around. You get the idea. And in just sort of batting that around, brainstorming a little bit. And, sometimes when you brainstorm, you just get it all out, right? You just spitball it all out. It's a little messy. It's a little crazy. It's kind of like well, what if you did this? What if you did that? And at the end of the day, we discovered that a different day was better for her for a lot of these prep tasks that most people do on Sundays. This was a game changer because what happened was it freed up her Sundays and really her entire weekend for more rest, for more fun, for more family time. And these Sunday nights really transformed into a time when it was just a quick glance over things instead of more of an intensive planning session. So I decided to give it a try myself, and I am absolutely obsessed with it. So, what I'm going to share with you today is why moving these tasks to, are you ready? What day? Maybe you've already guessed it. And you know what? I'm not going to cubbyhole you into this particular day, but I am going to tell you why I like this day the most. Moving these things into Fridays. Fridays. I even have some earrings that say Friday. We'll have to post those in our Facebook community so you can see those. I should have worn them as you're listening to the podcast. Quick little rabbit trail here as you're listening, or many of you, we have a lot of you, a lot more than I expected, watch on YouTube. So instead of my Friday earrings, I am wearing the school shirt for my kids' classical school. And if you ever want to know more about classical education, I wish that I had had that opportunity growing up. So I'm so thankful for my kids learning about the classical model. It's really what school was designed for way in the classic days. So feel free to DM me. We can talk about classical education. Anyhow, that's what I'm wearing, but I should have worn my Friday earrings. But what I want to share with you today is why moving these tasks to Friday has changed the game for me and why it might just do the same thing. So, a quick moment, quick little commercial break. Before we get into the details, I do want to remind you that working with clients like this is one of my absolute favorite things. Did I mention that? So, if you do think that this could be something for you, let's book a free call. You can DM me to get on my calendar and we can just see if it's a good fit. Okay, so here is what I discovered moving my Sunday night tasks to Friday. First of all, what we wanted to do and how we got to that point for my client and then for myself is understanding the different levels of energy and emotions. And what happened was for her on Sunday night, she was already starting to get, have you heard the phrase, the Sunday Scaries? Yeah. What that is you're already starting to think, oh, Monday is almost here. I have so much to do. I don't know how I'm going to get it all done. Where did the weekend go? If only I had a few extra hours. I'm starting to feel like a chicken with my head cut off. I think I'm going to spin my wheels. I don't know who's going to do all these things on the list. I mean, we start to feel like that. Well, that's what she was discovering on Sundays, which meant that she was not in her best place to think creatively, to think abundantly, to be excited about what was coming, maybe to be a little bit more strategic, a little more thoughtful and mindful instead of emotional and reactive. And so I said, well, what day do you feel like you can work from that abundance, that you can work from that excitement, that you can work from your mind just being a little bit more open and free? And she said, well, gosh, it would definitely be Fridays. I thought, well, what if you just scooted up those things as you kind of closed out your week, closed out your day on Friday, and just moved them on over? They might feel much less of a burden and a task and a mountain to climb. And that's what she did. So, what this did was moving these and shifting these to the weekend, from the weekend to the week end, literally the Friday of the weekend, gave her more headspace. And so I decided that I was going to give this a little experiment and moving some of my weekly planning, meal planning, grocery ordering, all those things to Fridays. Now, why Friday? Why did we pick Friday? Typically, it's a little bit more of a high energy, positive mood day. People are anticipating the weekend. So, what we're doing is we're leveraging the energy. Don't you love that thought? How can I leverage the energy of Friday? One of the big things I like to talk about is I don't want to fight something. I want to flow with it. I want to use it. Also, by the end of the week on Friday, you have a clearer picture of what's already been accomplished and what's coming up. And it just makes it a little bit easier to plan. Another reason for Fridays for us was getting the tasks off of your plate before the weekend allows you to fully relax and recharge. And I know for some of you, you have really started to implement a Sabbath, whether it is Friday night to Saturday night, whether it's all day Sunday, whether it's part of a day. And now during that Sabbath, you really can unplug because it's already been taken care of. And then lastly, Fridays, you can use Fridays as a soft close. I love that thought. A soft close to your week, which allows you to wrap up loose ends and sets the tone for a smoother start for the next week. So, what do you think? Are you intrigued? Are you starting to have a whole paradigm shift like I did? Like, why doesn't anybody else do this. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm missing out. I don't know anybody else that moves their Sunday planning stuff to Friday. So I think you and I, we're the trendsetters. Let's go. Let's go. Maybe there's a TED talk in here somewhere, right? So, what kind of things can you move to Fridays? I've got a few ideas for you. Of course, I do. That's what I do for you. The first thing that you can do, and the biggest thing that I did, and by the way, this printable will always be available for you in the links in my bios and also in the show notes. You can always find the link in case you are like, where did that go? And that is weekly planning. So instead of waiting until Sunday, what you can do is plan this on Friday while the week is still fresh in your mind. And then you can, as we mentioned, head into the weekend knowing you've already set your goals, your plans for the following week. So if you are watching on YouTube, then you'll see I have one of mine right here. It's my little brain drain weekly plan. This is the one for the upcoming week. I like to color code it too. And you'll notice that there are still a good amount of blank spaces. I'm going to tell you why I leave some of them blank, but I went ahead and just blocked out the appointments that I knew I had for sure. I blocked out some of the times that are for personal or that I have as kind of like my morning routine. And I was able to now have a bird's eye view of the week, already have it blocked out, but I have reserved, to me, that's a key. I've reserved some of the spaces for later. Again, we'll get to that. Number two thing that you can do is your meal planning and to start or complete your grocery order. So for us, usually it was Sunday nights, and I would say to the kids, okay, what dinners do you want? We use an app. We use the Walmart grocery pickup. That's just convenient for us where we live. And I have my favorites in there so I can just quickly reorder them and then add in what we wanted. Well, now I can plan those meals, get the grocery order going on Friday, because inevitably in my family with two teens and a husband, we would always get that in. And then they would say, oh, wait, but I also wanted this. I also wanted that. So, what I love about this is it gives me time to go ahead and have the bulk of it done. But throughout the weekend, if I'm noticing that we're low on something, or we decide that maybe one of those nights we're going to grab food out because we've got a ball game, then I can adjust accordingly and have it almost ready to go. So now we're avoiding that Sunday night scramble, knocking this out on Friday, freeing up your weekend. Peace. So good. Number three, what I like to do, moving all this to Fridays, is I like to wrap up any loose ends. So that Friday afternoon, you'll notice too, I don't know if you saw on my weekly plan, but I always have kind of this blank box if possible. I mean, sometimes I'm going out of town and sometimes I do other things, but a blank box on a Friday afternoon, because if there's any last minute tasks, or I might want to respond to emails or finish anything else that's just sort of hanging over my head, that Friday afternoon is that catch all. And I can end my week with a clean slate. So I'm not carrying unnecessary stress into the weekend. So those last phone calls are made, those last tasks are taken care of, maybe something that just kind of kept getting pushed throughout the week. Okay, I'm going to do it tomorrow. I'm going to do it tomorrow. I'm going to do it tomorrow. Well, Friday is that day to go ahead and knock it out. And partly, I know that some of the things that I might want to do, they're closed on the weekend. So it gives me a sense of urgency. It's like Friday or nothing, Friday or Monday morning. How about Friday? Number four is zeroing out your inbox. Oh, yeah. Getting your inbox cleared out by the weekend means less Monday morning overwhelm and more mental clarity. For some of you, it's not just your inbox, it might be your text messaging, it might be your Facebook messaging, it might be your Voxer. I know a lot of us use Voxer. So, getting that pretty little app to not have any of the red around it, that is perfect. Or at least put it into a folder. Here's another little tip. At least create a folder that says Monday. So you can move it into Monday's folder if you know for sure you just do not have the time or the energy, or it's just not a good time for you to finish that task or that email. Move it into Monday. That way you still have it zeroed out, and Monday morning you can go ahead and open up the Monday folder. You could also do that for other days of the week too. Move it into those folders so that you can still have a clear inbox, but things don't slip through the cracks. Okay, number five, a personal reflection time or a wins list. This is great. Fridays are such a perfect time to reflect on what you accomplished during the week. So, whether it's through journaling or simple just mental check ins, this helps to close your week on a positive note. You could even leave a sticky note. You're going to have sticky notes all over your laptop, right? So, one of the sticky notes that I just talked about is the while I'm here on my laptop, what else can I do? But maybe you also have a sticky note that you put that just says something that you did great this week, something that you feel awesome about, something that kind of moved the needle. Leave it on your laptop so that when you get there Monday morning, you're already like, "Oh yeah, that is what I did last week." Pat myself on the back and you can start off feeling like you've got your emotional battery recharged. And number 6, pre-weekend self-care ritual. Now, you may have seen on my little sheet, I did have a nail appointment on Friday afternoon. I thought, I can answer messages at the salon while I'm getting a pedicure just as much as I could at home sitting around. So I'm going to do that on a Friday afternoon. But it could be more than just that. Maybe it's a favorite workout, a walk. One of our favorite things to do now in this season, literal physical season of the year, where it's not quite so hot in Florida, is to take our dog and walk down to the dock and watch the sunset. So maybe it's that or a relaxing activity. This is just going to help you transition smoothly into the weekend. So, the 6 things: you can do your weekly planning, you can do your meal planning and or grocery order, wrap up loose ends, get your any inboxes to zero, have a quick personal reflection, and maybe some pre-weekend self-care that you do. One bonus thing that you may have heard me mention a bunch of times is I unplug my router from my laptop, I roll it up and I put it away on Fridays. I actually do that at noon on Fridays. And then Monday morning, I plug it back in. Okay. So when we have moved these things to Friday, what can we now do on Sunday? What do Sundays feel like and look like? I've got a few things for that too. Number 1, rest and recharge. Sundays can now be fully focused on relaxation, family time, without maybe the feeling of the burden of the planning. And see, I think sometimes we feel that way, therefore we don't do it. Therefore, Monday morning we haven't planned. Therefore, Monday feels just completely like a train wreck or a circus or, you know, completely off the rails because we didn't plan on Sunday because we wanted to rest and we didn't want to do it. Well, we don't have to worry about that. We've already done it on Friday. And now that Sunday is really your full out recharge. The number 2 thing it can do for your Sundays is a Sunday reset. And that's kind of what I was referring to earlier. What I like to do now is just a light check in with my weekly plan. So it's not the full out planning. I just will take a quick look, a quick glance. Then maybe with my brain drain, I'll go ahead and fill in some of the blank boxes if there are any. And by box, I just mean the hour from, 2 to 3 or 4 to 5. I can make adjustments now. So it's more like a little adjustment to the weekly plan instead of the full out thing. So, maybe on Friday I was a bit ambitious and I know that's not going to happen. All right, let me just rearrange it just slightly and then I can really launch into Monday morning feeling great. Number 3 thing you can do is maybe spend time instead on creative or fun projects. So maybe there's a hobby or something that really just doesn't normally make it into your busy weekday schedule. And now you've got that freed up time for 30 minutes, even doesn't have to be a lot of time. Of course, probably the one a lot of people are thinking of is number 4, which is family time. And so maybe it's a family game night or a movie or something that you do outdoors. Maybe you do cook a meal together. My daughter's 13. One of the things I realized is that cooking something together, she likes to spend time with me. I like to spend time with her, and it cuts our cooking time in half because she does one thing, I do another thing. We turn on some music. This is the perfect time to do it without my thinking, oh my goodness, I've got to get my planning done or I've got to get the groceries done. Now you can invest a little bit more of that time without feeling crazy. See how we're becoming perfectionists? We are getting it perfect. All right, now we're perfecting it. We got it. We got it. Number 5 is meal prep for the week. So the meal plan's already set. So maybe now this is a meal prep time or batching of cooking time if you did go ahead and get your groceries. So now you're more either mentally prepping for it, or again, you're adjusting it, double checking. Maybe I will pull something out of the freezer tomorrow night instead of cooking because I just realized I've got a meeting at the kids' school. All right, so we're making those small little tweaks and adjustments for the meal planning and doing some meal prepping if possible. And then, of course, number 6 is our mindset and our motivation check in. So, this is a great time just to mentally prepare for the week ahead. Maybe you journal a little bit. Maybe you set your intentions for the week. Maybe you just have a little bit of time where you're gracious to yourself so that you can have kindness toward yourself going into the week ahead. Maybe it's just a grateful time. You know, maybe it's just looking over that weekly plan and saying, thank you, God, for the job that I have a way to provide income for my family. Thank you that I have this part of my community that I get to serve. Thank you that. So maybe it's just one of those moments where instead of the feeling that you were just a crazy person in the week, now more of a grateful person. Okay. So what do you think? What do you think? Are we going to create a movement of instead of that like Sunday reset or the Sunday planning, we're going to actually be ahead of the game. We're going to do this on Fridays and we're going to then go into our weekend maybe having a little bit more of a mindset that we are more in control, we're more energized, we're more focused because we took advantage of that energy time on Friday. So I know that it's hard sometimes to break a habit, but I would challenge you to try this one. So maybe you have a non traditional schedule and your Sundays don't look like the traditional person. Move this around a little bit, play around with a little bit, and see what works for you. But I have a sneaking suspicion that if you give this a try, you are going to love it. You're going to love this. So remember, this came from a conversation with a client, and working with my clients is one of my absolute favorite things. Did I mention that? I think I did. I think I said it a couple times. So of course, as always, if you think this is something for you, let's book a free call. So you can DM me to get me on my calendar. I'm probably not going to book you for a Sunday night though. Maybe a Friday morning, right? So thanks so much for going on this fun little journey. Like everything else, we're just focusing on one little thing at a time. How can I perfect this? How can I perfect that so that I am my best? I'm at the top of my game. I am feeling like I've got it somewhat together as a wife, as a mom, as a friend, as a business owner, without burnout and without guilt. All right, let's give it a go. And let me tell you, I'm just going to give you a tiny sneak peek. These episodes drop on Tuesday. Next Tuesday happens to be October 22nd. That happens to be my daughter, Maddie Brigham's 14th birthday. I just so happen to have a very, 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 very special guest on October 22nd. Any guesses? You're not going to want to miss that. Okay. You're not, because you never know what's going to happen when this special guest and I get together. All right. On that note, thanks so much for listening. Let me know how your Fridays turn out for you. God bless. Thank you for joining me on the TikTok podcast. Please subscribe, rate, and leave a 5-star review. Your feedback fuels our mission to help you master your time. Set your alarm for our next episode, and until then, make every moment count.